Thanks for clicking on the video. If you like what you hear, please drop a comment and say hi. It'd help me out a lot.
They didn't call it a hospital, they called it the threshold. A massive ring station, silent and slow, orbiting the outer event horizon of Virulka, a black hole that had long since eaten its own name. No planet nearby, no light, no reason to pass this way unless it was your last. Ships arrived every few days, silent landings, no celebration. Passengers weren't visitors. They were patients, the ones no system could cure, the ones whose homes had let them go with a quiet nod and a signed waiver. This was where they came, to wait. There were medics, synthetic care units, biobed protocols that could keep a heart beating even after the mind had started to slip, but none of it cured. It only slowed the ending down. That was the job, to ease the end. Clara walked the upper corridor as she always did, slow, soft-footed, hands folded behind her back. She wasn't a doctor. She didn't run the diagnostics or prep the nanite infusions. She wore no badge, no title. Just a long coat over soft-duty whites and a small pendant made of carved wood, the only thing she brought from Earth. She moved between rooms like a breeze, uninvited, never in the way. Some patients stared, some looked past her, some had already begun to forget the shape of visitors. But she stayed, she listened, and sometimes, when no one else knew what to do, she sang, not loudly, not operatic, not with training or tech, just gently. A simple human voice, humming tunes from a world most of the galaxy had never seen. A lullaby, a memory, a moment. No one paid her for it, no one asked her to do it, but she did it anyway, because out here, orbiting nothing, surrounded by endings, someone should. Room 34J was always too quiet. Even the machines, standard monitors, neural maps, metabolic regulators seemed to pulse more slowly in there. Inside lay Voron Daisk, a Varnasi war clan captain, 7 feet tall, all muscle once, now just angles under strain, decorated, feared, body count in the thousands. Now he could barely lift his arm. The staff said he refused all comfort. No touch, no meds that dulled cognition, no visitors, even from his species. When Clara entered, she didn't knock. She never did. She just paused at the threshold, watched his vitals blink, watched his breathing hitch slightly at her presence. "I'll only stay a moment," she said softly. No reply. She walked to the side of the bed, didn't reach out, didn't press buttons. She just sat and hummed. It was a quiet, circular tune, no lyrics. A memory shaped into sound. Voron's eyes twitched once, a small reflex. He'd heard it. She kept humming. The melody dipped, turned inward, curved like the path of a comet looping home. He rasped, not a word, just a shift, a breath deeper than the others. Clara stood slowly, ready to leave. And then just as she reached the door, a voice, dry and cracked like burning wood, whispered, "Again." She turned. The Varnasi captain's face hadn't changed, but his eyes had, and so she sang again. It didn't take long for the murmurs to start. She was singing again. Not loud, not scheduled. No patient requested it, no form filed, just a human voice moving through the station like a heat ripple in cold water. The administrator, a tall, soft-voiced Serexi with 3 hands and mirrored skin, brought it up in the weekly rotation briefing. "There is no recorded therapeutic benefit," they said, flicking through data tabs. "Neural response variance is within standard deviation, memory recall unaffected, metabolic irregularities unchanged." One of the younger staff, a felinoid from Grestar, asked gently, "Then why does room 34J sleep deeper during vocal activity?" The room fell still. Clara wasn't at the meeting. She never came to these. Instead, she sat beside another patient. Not singing this time, just holding their hand while they waited for the hour to pass. But outside her presence, the station's logic spun on rails. Rules, protocol, metrics. "Her presence is non-invasive," one technician finally offered. "But confusing." "That's not confusion," someone else said. "That's envy." Later that night, in a utility corridor near the hydro-recycling wing, a tall insectoid worker chirped softly while wiping down a panel. It wasn't a cleaning rhythm, it wasn't a language. It was Clara's tune, carried forward, not because it healed, but because it made people feel like they mattered while fading. And no one knew how to process that. Not yet. Room 9F was locked when he arrived, double-coded, isolated atmosphere, no visitors, no approach within 5 meters without override. The occupant's name was redacted from most systems, but whispers traveled, a former sector warlord, architect of orbital sieges, the kind of figure history books footnoted with mass casualty estimates. No family claimed him, no empire mourned. He was there to die, and for once, he couldn't stop it. When the isolation orders were eased, his own request, oddly enough, the staff refused to enter, all except one. She stepped inside without announcement. The figure in the bed was massive, broad shoulders, deep scars along a partially bio-reconstructed jaw. Translucent armor plating lined his ribcage, flickering with dormant implants. His eyes, black, reflective, watched her the way a sniper might scan a ruined city. He said nothing. She did, softly at first, barely audible, a lullaby, but not one of Earth's, something older, darker. A ballad of still oceans and empty chairs. His jaw tightened. "That is not a song," he rasped. "It is mourning," she nodded. "Some call it both." She kept singing. The old melody curved inward like a spiral, each line drifting lower, like a planet pulling debris into orbit. When she stopped, the silence was thicker than before. He did not speak until she turned to leave. "You sound like the world I never gave them." She looked over her shoulder, met his gaze. He didn't blink, and for the first time in 60 years, he listened. It started in the maintenance halls, a low, tuneless hum. A janitorial worker, thin, lanky, three-limbed, swept the polymer floor tiles along corridor J6. No headset, no console. Just a quiet sound vibrating through its elongated throat chamber. Not quite music, but familiar. Two medtechs passed by, exchanging glances. "That's one of hers, isn't it?" Sounds close. They didn't stop it. In a recovery pod 6 doors down, a terminal patient from the icy worlds of Verac Prim requested something odd during a routine resynchronization. Not datacom, not white tone. Play the voice. "Which voice?" the nurse asked. "The one that doesn't want anything." Later that week, a child arrived, the youngest patient the station had ever accepted. Inoperable neural decay. No known cure. No comfort routines had worked. She wouldn't eat. Wouldn't look anyone in the eye. Clara entered her room without a chart. Sat in the corner and began to hum. The child turned her head slowly and reached out a hand. Clara didn't move closer. She just sang one more verse and left the door open when she walked out. That night, the child ate half a meal. By week's end, 10 new requests had been filed, requesting vocal nurse. "Please assign melody caretaker. Bring the one who sings." Clara never read the requests. She just kept moving room to room. The station learned the tune. Not in protocol, not in programming, in people. She didn't tell anyone. Not right away. She continued her rounds, sat at bedsides, sang through evenings as usual, but she began to move slower. Her coat no longer hung loose. It wrapped closer to her frame. The smile never left her face, but it lingered a second longer than before, like she had to remind it to stay. The scans eventually caught it. A degenerative fault, rapid, internal, incurable, a folding of cells that even the station's finest couldn't halt. They offered to transfer her, to cryo, to counsel planets with more advanced labs. She declined them all. "I've already chosen my bed," she said, "and I know the way to the room. Room 1A, never used, too close to the observation window, too quiet." She made it hers, and words spread like vapor, gentle, fast, without a source. One day, she was walking. The next, she wasn't, but no one forgot her steps. The patients who still could walked. The ones who couldn't were wheeled. They came in shifts. Some brought broken trinkets. Some brought nothing but breath. They didn't ask her to sing. They did something else. They sang wasn't perfect. The melodies bent, languages mixed, but they sang. Her hand, frail now, tapped a faint beat along her blanket as the voices gathered. And when she closed her eyes for the last time, it was to the sound of every life she'd touched, touching back. The shuttle docked with no fanfare. Just another arrival, another shape carried in on a repulsor stretcher. Breath shallow, systems failing. A terminal case from a war nobody wanted to win. The nurse at the desk didn't speak much, just nodded. Logged it. But as they passed the main corridor on the way to recovery prep, the patient turned. "Who sings here?" the nurse blinked. "What?" "I was told someone sings, not music, a voice, one that makes endings quieter." The nurse smiled. "She did. She's not here now." "Then who sings now?" The nurse didn't answer, just turned their head. Down the hall, an older alien with mineral-lined arms hummed softly while adjusting the flow monitor on a companion's bed. In a nearby pod, a pair of young caretakers whispered a tune as they closed the lid on a resting chamber. Even the floor cleaner, mechanical, voice-locked, beeped in rhythmic time, like it had memorized a melody without knowing why. The nurse leaned closer to the patient. We all do, now. Later, as the patient settled in, they noticed the mural. Not in the center, not gilded, just tucked into a small panel near the garden alcove. A human woman in a long grey coat stood with her hands open, palms up, head tilted back as if listening. Around her, dozens of star paths wove through the background, and in each glowing line, small notes pulsed gently outward. No weapons, no machines, no shields, just her voice. The caption below wasn't in any formal language. It was a phrase, passed around, untranslated, but always understood. She sang us home.
Lost between the stars above, till morning light appears. Love away from the company, safe in celestial harmony. Let me drifting